Please welcome from the product team at DBT Labs, Grace Goheen and Jeremy Cohen.
Welcome to Coalesce 2025! Woo! Jeremy, what are you doing up here?
I'm emceeing Coalesce.
No, I'm emceeing Coalesce.
Who told you that?
Alexis, who told you that?
Alexis?
Well, maybe she got us mixed up.
It does happen all the time. We're both product managers of DBT Core.
We're theater kids.
And we both look great in a suit. In a way, you're kind of the original DBT clone.
Actually, I'm more like V2.
Look, I'm pretty confident they booked me for the theater. Maybe you're supposed to be emceeing the wrestling conference next door.
Okay, should we arm wrestle for it then?
No, I couldn't. I'm so strong. And anyways, this is my 4th Coalesce, so.
So, this is also my 4th Coalesce.
I already bought a whole costume.
I've got a suitcase full of them.
Maybe you're supposed to be like my understudy.
Oh, maybe you can be mine.
Look, can I be vulnerable with you for a moment? I really need this.
Same. It's like the highlight of my year.
Maybe we could do it together
Are you up for that?
from the beginning? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Coalesce 2025! Woo! Seriously, this week is something we look forward to all year long.
It's a chance to connect with the community, to nerd out on all things analytics engineering.
It's the culmination of a whole year of product development across the entire ecosystem, and I always come back feeling totally exhausted and totally energized.
We're both honored to be your MCs for the next few days.
And we have some fun surprises planned.
Like tomorrow's big birthday bash.
Hey, it's a surprise. But you don't want to miss that party.
For our in-person crowd, welcome to Las Vegas.
Woo!
The city so nice, we've come here twice. We have over 2,000 people here today in this room. Show of hands, who's first time at Coalesce?
Woo! Woo!
Second time? Third time? Fourth time? Incredible. You know, folks in this room have traveled here from over 40 countries. Near, far, wherever you are. Thank you for being here this week. You all are what makes Coalesce so special, and we're thrilled you're here.
And we have over 14,000 folks who are joining us virtually from all over the world. So to our online attendees, wherever you're logging in from, thank you for joining in and being part of the fun. Make sure to join the conversation in the Coalesce 2025 Slack channel.
Now, one more thank you to our partners and sponsors. The Coalesce experience would not be possible without your support. Special thanks to our platinum sponsors this week, AWS, Fivetran, Hex, and Snowflake.
We have an exciting and packed 3-day agenda for you all.
Now, if it wasn't obvious, this is our main stage where we'll be hosting all 3 keynotes. In just a few minutes, you'll hear from our executives and product leaders about new innovations coming to DBT and from some of our customers who are already adopting these new features at scale.
And be sure to come back here at 4 o'clock today for this afternoon's keynote, where our keynote speaker, Ashley Kramer, Chief Revenue Officer at OpenAI, will be sharing her perspective on how AI is reshaping the practice of analytics.
And now, tomorrow morning, we'll be right back here, same time, same place, 9 a.m. sharp, for DBT's surprise birthday party. The whole community is invited. We're going to talk about the future of DBT Core and Fusion, and we'll be continuing to build DBT in the open together. We're also going to recognize some folks who have gone above and beyond in their contributions to the community this year.
And the keynotes are just the beginning. We have over 100 breakout sessions, workshops, trainings, peer exchanges, roundtables all happening in the next 3 days. We have a hopping discovery hall that opens right after this morning's keynote.
It's going to be an incredible week.
All right, now for the main event, our opening keynote and product spotlight. Without further ado, it is an honor and a privilege to welcome to the stage founder and CEO of DBT Labs, Tristan Handy.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Coalesce 25. That song, for all of you who are not familiar, that's for all the parents who got dragged to the Minecraft movie, just like me. Some things you will just never get out of your head. Anyway, to say that I'm excited to be here with you today would be a pretty serious understatement. I am, of course, always happy to spend time in person with my favorite people, but this year is a little different. Yesterday, we had some big news, right? Who here saw the news? Show of hands. Yesterday, we announced that we're merging with Fivetran. One of the things I want to do with you this morning is to get into this merger, what it means for the entire community, and where we're headed from here. And I got a special guest backstage with me who's going to help me do just that. But before I go there, I want to share just a little bit about how we see the data landscape today and how this perspective has motivated the merger. Because honestly, so much has changed over the last few years. And it's time for all of us to update our priors. First, let's just put a pretty basic map of the industry up. We're all familiar with this, right? Data flows from left to right. It's processed by ingestion, transformation, and reverse ETL pipelines. But it lives inside of the data platforms. They provide compute, storage, and catalog functionality. And orchestration, observability, and metadata are provided by a control plane layer. Data moves through this from left to right, and it's consumed by either traditional analytics and now AI workloads. Fine, right? I could have drawn a mostly similar diagram on this stage 4 years ago, and that makes it feel like everything's pretty stable. But beneath the surface, there's actually a lot changing. And that's what I want to get into today. The main forces driving these changes are consolidation and expansion. Here's what I mean by that. Consolidation is about what customers want. Customers want integrated solutions that help them solve business problems, not point solutions that help solve technical problems. It used to take 12 separate logos to create an end-to-end data stack, and buyers have lost their patience with this. Expansion is about what vendors want. Vendors want to expand into new areas to strengthen their businesses. There are now 5 big players in our space with multi-billion-dollar revenue businesses. And each of them needs to continue to grow. Let's look at a few examples. Snowflake focused on expanding their platform this year with OpenFlow and Snowflake DBT projects. Databricks did a big rev of Delta Live tables, now called Lakeflow Declarative Pipelines. And it's continued to push forwards with Lakeflow Connect. Microsoft, of course, has been building an integrated tooling for a bunch of years now and has strong offerings in many categories. Now, none of this is inherently good or bad. End-to-end solutions can drive cleaner integration, better user experience, and sometimes can lower cost. But the flip side of this is that they can limit user choice, create vendor lock-in, and drive up costs. The devil is in the details. When I look at the strategies of the Big Five today, I see them all as kind of fundamentally similar. Start with an analytical compute engine, and then add on adjacent services. Now, I would call this the all-in-one data platform strategy. I think there's another way forward. I would call this the open data infrastructure strategy. Open data infrastructure can provide the benefits of end-to-end integration, but it's built to support user choice for compute. 5 years ago, this strategy wouldn't have made any sense. Back then, really, it seemed like organizations might standardize on a single analytical compute engine. Today, we empirically know that's not happening, and it's becoming less true by the day. In fact, half of our customers are working across multiple data platforms. And it's open standards, and especially Iceberg, that's making this new world possible. Let's take a look for a sec at why choice matters so much when it comes to compute. So, here are the primary analytical compute engines that we all use today. Their biggest strengths are their flexibility and their scalability. If you were going to have a single type of hammer for all nails, these would each be very good all-purpose hammers. These two OSS compute engines are still dominant in massive deployments where customers want to go fully on-prem or want to manage their own infrastructure from a cost perspective. Most of the biggest data infrastructures in the world use a lot of Spark and Presto. These two next-generation databases are focused on single-node compute with extremely low latency, great DevX, and best-in-class costs. They can't currently address the very largest workflows, but they can address the vast majority. Finally, ClickHouse is fascinating. It's winning real-time and AI workloads rapidly, providing low latency, high performance, and concurrency with no limits on scale. Data infrastructure has never been more important. Your data infrastructure is only getting more important with the rise of AI. And given this, personally, I don't see a world in which most companies standardize on a single analytical compute engine. The technologies are too different. They make different trade-offs, and they're good at different things. As the market expands, we don't need a one-size-fits-all hammer. We need choice. The path to choice is open data infrastructure. And as it just so happens, here's what it looks like when you combine the product offerings of DBT Labs and Fivetran. Now, the most important thing on this diagram is that compute is not shaded in. We have no plans to build our own analytical compute engine. Our goal is to make sure that all of our products work seamlessly with all engines and enable data workload portability across all of them. This gives you a superpower. With an open data infrastructure, you have the freedom to choose the engine that makes the most sense for any individual workload. But open means more to us. When we say open, of course, we mean data infrastructure that supports all compute engines, but we also mean data infrastructure that supports all large language models. We mean data infrastructure that supports all data catalogs. We mean data infrastructure that supports all BI tools. Open data infrastructure sits behind everything else. Its superpower is to deliver data and metadata reliably wherever you need it. Now, all of this, of course, relies on deep support for open standards. SQL, MCP, ADBC, Iceberg, and more. Standards are the only way to unlock interoperability at scale. And honestly, without all the progress that they've made over the past few years, we would have no hope of building data infrastructure that's truly open. Over the last 9 years since I started working on DBT, I have been publicly and unabashedly pro-practitioner. I want to help you build amazing things. And I truly believe that open is the right approach. building data infrastructure that preserves user choice. This is probably as good of a time as any to bring out my special guest. George Fraser is the CEO of Fivetran. I've known him for a decade, and it's been amazing to work together over the years. I'm excited to be building the future of data together. George, welcome to Coalesce. That was good. Mr.
Thanks for inviting me to your conference, Tristan.
Thanks for being here. This is going to be fun. They said they were going to have an iPad for me, and then they didn't, and so I had to bring my reading glasses. So I think this is the first time that you've been at Coalesce. Is that right?
I think I came to one of the early ones years ago.
The ones that were online?
It was in SF, wasn't it?
No,
Sorry.
So you're in Vegas. Are you a Vegas person? Am I going to catch you later at the craps table?
You know, it's funny. The first time I ever came to Vegas was for my younger brother's bachelor party. And they asked me, do I think I'll come back? And I said, no, I'll never come back. And I've actually come here like a million times, always for conferences or like going to concerts with friends. And I've come to actually like it because the logistics are so easy, and I've come to sort of know where everything is. Although the funny thing is, I have never gambled in my life.
In your
anywhere.
life?
Yeah. But I've been to Vegas many times.
I've gambled like twice, and I've never done a slot machine. So maybe I feel like I need to put like $1 in or something just to have the experience. Okay. Yesterday, we spent some time together. We did Exec Summit and Partner Summit, and you, in passing, said a thing to me that stuck with me. You said, for a long time, the product strategy of Fivetran was fix all the bugs in the connectors before the customers churn. And there's been a level of straightforwardness and simplicity to the Fivetran business model for a long time. But I'm just curious, it's got to be damn hard to maintain 700 connectors and make them all work. How has this shaped the culture of the company?
Yeah, I mean, Fivetran has always been, discipline has been a very important element of the company. It was hardest when we were very small because the number of problems you have to deal with is sort of proportional to the number of sources you support. So it scales well as you get more and more people using those sources, but when it was early, it was very difficult. I mean, I was up till midnight fixing bugs every night for 2 years. So back then, it was all about just focusing on that one thing year after year after year.
When do you feel like you were able to get to a place where you could think of literally anything else?
I don't know, last year.
Yeah, right. Okay. So let's go back in time a little bit. When did you first hear about DBT, and how silly did you think it was at the time?
It was a long time ago because our customers started to use it. And I was originally a DBT skeptic. I used to joke that the secret to DBT's success was that it made analysts feel like software engineers because they got to type curly braces. And
a lot of them.
And then some smart people started to really convince me that I was not getting it. And I remember at I think the Looker conference, my friend Mike Weinberg was sort of the one who tipped me over on it. He was like, no, this thing is really good, George. You're not getting it. And then I played around with it and I thought, oh, this is Rails. This is Rails for SQL. And then it just continued to take off. And then I saw the profound effect that it had on people's careers, including close friends, because it enabled them to do so much more. It enabled analysts to take on so much more scope that previously they would have to make a ticket for someone in data engineering to do something. Now they could do it themselves. They could manage more complexity. They could create real infrastructure instead of just writing one-off SQL queries. So it really, there was a human dimension to it that I came to appreciate over the years.
Are you a user? How many DBT models do you have to your name?
I have never actually, I've written DBT models in toy projects. I've never made a commit against our prod DBT.
Is this because you don't have Git access to that repo?
No, I have Git access to everything. There is a rule at Fivetran that I have admin access to everything. And don't hack my account. I really should not actually say that. Yeah.
I was gonna
I
talk
point
to your
this out to
CISO
the
after this.
security team as like, don't relax any rules for me, because mine is the last account you want to be hacked. I have not ever made a PR against our prod DBT model, although I've read it many times when I'm writing SQL queries to try to find out things about what's going on at Fivetran, which I actually do a lot.
Yeah. Okay, I just shared with the group some of our thinking around open data infrastructure. I'm curious, and this is like a kind of a carte blanche. Like, what are your thoughts here? How do you feel like the industry is evolving, and what's the role that we have to play collectively in this?
Well, I think the role we have to play is to provide an alternative to the walled gardens, where we emphasize openness and interconnectedness with the entire ecosystem. We're going to be the data platform that is not trying to lock you in, that's providing the tools that practitioners love, which is first and foremost DBT, the most loved tool in the entire ecosystem, and that is betting on customer choice, betting on standards like Iceberg, like the Iceberg REST catalog. I think that's our vision. I hope people will like it and adopt it. I think it's going to be good for the ecosystem and good for the future, and I think it's the right thing for customers. Time will tell.
One of the things on the diagram that I shared is that there's these two parts, the storage catalog, and we put the Fivetran logo in those areas. I think a lot of folks here probably don't know about your investment so far in data lakes. Do you want to share?
Yeah, we've been working away at data lakes for 3 years now.
I actually didn't realize
it took a long time to get a working system. I mean, we took an entire run at it that we abandoned because we determined we had chosen the wrong architecture and started all over after about a year. So when you set up Fivetran, if you set up Iceberg Data Lake as a destination, we actually operate a storage engine underneath that not only sticks files into S3, but acts as the custodian of that data lake that updates the metadata, that updates the data, that squeezes out deletes, that performs compaction. There's a whole set of activities that you have to do in order to maintain a high-performance data lake. And so when you configure Fivetran in that way, Fivetran is really acting as the storage engine. It's your S3 bucket or Google Cloud Storage bucket or Azure Blob Storage bucket. So it's your storage, but we're acting as the custodian of that data lake and doing things that that traditionally would be done by the data warehouse like BigQuery or Snowflake for that base layer of tables that we are delivering.
Yeah, I'm honestly super excited about this. The idea that you could make data lakes as straightforward as Fivetran integrations have always been is like, I kind of want to go back in time to like the Fishtown Analytics days and like use that. I think it'll be fun. Let's talk about the journey for a second that has resulted in this conversation right here. I think that we've been thinking for, I mean, depending on how you want to count it, 10 years or at least a year about the industry in a very similar way. But if you went back in time about 6 months ago, we'd both be thinking about that in a similar way, but independently. Can you share it all about what is the process that got us to be sitting on this stage together?
Well, it's an idea that has made sense for a long time. It's not a non-obvious idea. I mean, if you
how many times has somebody brought this up to you over the past 5 years?
I mean, probably like once a quarter for that whole period. If you ask ChatGPT who, if anyone, should Fivetran merge with, they would tell you DBT, and I did, by the way.
George gets all of his strategy from ChatGPT.
Honestly, it's not the worst idea to ask. I always say you should ask ChatGPT everything, because what if there's something you missed and you could have just asked ChatGPT? Just see what it says, So it's always been an idea that made sense. As one of our board members, Bob Muglia, put it, it's like apple pie and ice cream. They go well together. I think what has really catalyzed it happening now is just that everyone sees sort of the end of one chapter of the data stack and the beginning of a new one. And the new chapter is about more multimodal data and multimodal workloads. People are going to be doing a lot of new things with data in the next 10 years. Everybody knows that AI is going to be the most important consumer of business data. Nobody is quite sure exactly how that is going to work. That is going to involve workflows that haven't been invented yet. And so there is going to be a really big emphasis on being future-proof and being interoperable, and that's what we're betting on by doing this.
One of the things that I take very seriously is our obligation to the community. In a very real way, DBT Labs was kind of like called forth into existence by a community that needed somebody to maintain this thing and invest in it. Fivetran is more of what I would call a traditional business. You make things, and then you trade them to people for money. There are some people who I think will have some level of concern about the cultures or the ethos of these two different companies coming together. I want to give you an opportunity to share your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think open source is very important in some contexts. There are some things that must be open source. DBT would not be DBT if it were not open source. I've been saying this a lot this week. Nobody really owns DBT, and that's critical to what makes the magic work. Fivetran does have open source things that we've done. For example, our SDK connectors are all open source, and there are some of the connectors that you would get in the setup form are actually SDK connectors, and you can go see the code on GitHub. And there are specific reasons in those cases why they are built that way. We've, for a long time, built DBT packages that sit on top of our schemas that we deliver. I think we have built the most DBT packages of anybody.
Over 100, yeah.
And those are all, of course, open source. Some of them are like, represent investment of like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of hours. Like the NetSuite one is crazy, how complex that is. The NetSuite data model is so complicated.
We're not talking about NetSuite. We're not talking about Oracle on stage. You can go on rabbit holes for them forever. Find George later and ask him.
So we have done open source in the places where we think it makes sense. The reason the Fivetran connectors are not open source is because what is happening behind the scenes at Fivetran, it's a very ugly business. We're working around all of the incidental complexity of all of these data sources. It's kind of crazy, all the corner cases you will encounter. And nobody wants to participate in that development process on a volunteer basis. You have to pay people to do that. So it's not a great fit for that, for that scenario.
But just while we have you up here, I just want to get you on record. Do you anticipate any changes to licensing, to naming, to like any disruptive product changes to the things that folks in this audience know and love?
Absolutely not. That would be the stupidest thing that we could possibly do. Because, like I said, the magic of DBT does not work unless it is open and compatible with the entire ecosystem.
Awesome. George, thanks for hanging out today. Thanks for being here in person. Are you going to be around for the next day or two?
I will indeed.
Okay, awesome. I'm sure that lots of people, so also George is at George Fraser on Slack, right?
DBT Slack, yeah, long-time participant.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Tristan.
Oh, you lost him. Okay, that was fun. Let's keep moving. At DBT Labs, we have been in a cross-platform open future for a bunch of years now. And our biggest investment ever in this direction is the DBT Fusion engine. In case you missed our big announcement back in May, in 25, we rewrote DBT from the ground up. The new DBT engine called Fusion is absolutely central to the future of DBT. A bunch of you have tried it out, and many of you are actively using it in production today. If you've already moved to Fusion, hell yeah. But the benefits you've seen so far are just the beginning. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about what the DBT Fusion engine is and why it represents such an exciting step forwards for all of us. It's fast. It's really fast. 30x faster parse time than DBT Core. The first time you use it, you'll feel it. Its DevX is far better than anything we've ever offered, making you dramatically more productive. Developing with Fusion is just a lot of fun. It helps save you money. I don't want to spoil the later parts of this presentation, but based on our early testing, Fusion can drive very serious efficiency. It can track and govern PII across your entire organization, whether that's 100 or 1 million tables. It's perfect for the lakehouse architecture. It abstracts away the SQL you write from any one dialect, allowing your data workloads to be just as platform independent as your data storage. Fusion plus Iceberg is the ideal recipe for an open data infrastructure. And finally, Fusion is the perfect complement to AI and agents. I really am excited about Fusion, and I believe it is the future for DBT. But I also want to acknowledge that change is hard. Many of you in this room and online have built a big chunk of your careers around DBT. You're certified. You've used it in multiple jobs. You've likely spent thousands of hours writing DBT models, writing CTEs and ref statements. You've attended meetups. You've hosted meetups. You've declined job offers if the company recruiting you didn't use DBT. It's this passion that has made DBT and this community what we are today. And now DBT is changing? I want to go on record with a few really straightforward statements as we navigate this change together. First, DBT Core just couldn't go where Fusion is headed. Technically, it's a 9-year-old code base. And back in 2016, we had no way of anticipating the world we now live in. Core is an awesome workflow innovation, and it's why we are all here in the first place. But I have zero interest in getting stuck in the past. Second, DBT Core isn't going anywhere. If you use Core today, it's not going away. As you heard from George earlier, we are continuing to invest in it. Now, I believe that the benefits of Fusion speak for themselves, but I'm realistic. I realize that upgrades take time. And when you upgrade, it's totally your choice. Third, your existing DBT code will largely just work with Fusion. Just like any major version upgrade, there will be some areas that require code changes. And we've built tooling to automate a bunch of this. But we aim to make Fusion as conformant as possible with the literally billions of lines of DBT code out there in the universe. Fusion is just the DBT you know and love, but better. Fourth, Fusion doesn't require you to pay us anything. Just like DBT Core, Fusion can be used locally on the CLI for free. Full stop. Fifth, Fusion is the bridge to the future. The future of the data ecosystem and for data practitioners is changing. And the two forces that are changing it are standards and AI. Fusion is a huge part of the answer to how DBT and the DBT community tie into this new world. So let's go there. Let's talk AI. For a long time, I have always been pretty measured when it comes to talking about AI. But over the last 12 months, things have honestly changed. Standing up here today, I'm all in. But this didn't happen overnight. One of the first things I ever asked ChatGPT was a prompt my dad suggested. He's a retired English teacher, and so I asked him to give me an essay question that he might have given it in one of his classes. Here's the prompt. Maybe you responded to this in 8th grade as well. Write a 5-paragraph essay explaining how Harper Lee expresses her views on female gender roles through the character of Scout in To Kill a Mockingbird. The essay that ChatGPT responded with was, obviously incredible. Of course, what neither of us realized all the way back in 2023 was that we were giving the model a perfect tee-up. Analyzing a widely known work of literature with a question that had probably been asked and answered in the training set. I mean, that's kind of right down the fairway, right? But I'm not an English teacher. I'm a data practitioner. And when I tried to get AI to do useful stuff for me back in 2023, my results kind of sucked. And that stayed true basically all that year. In early 24, things started moving a little faster, but it's really over the last 12 months that things in our world have gotten wild. As far as I can tell, that's been driven by 4 things: reasoning models, chain of thought, reinforcement learning, and MCP. These were the fundamental breakthroughs that we needed to bring AI into data. And they have created a real discontinuity over the past 12 months. A year ago, it was, this thing can write pretty decent SQL. Today, it's, okay, it can build me an entire runnable DBT project from scratch if I give it access to the DBT MCP server. Code review comments are now instructions to agents who resolve them in line. Logging from pipeline failures becomes the input to an agent that auto-fixes the underlying problem. This isn't the future, this is the present. From my perspective, that's kind of wild. But not all of this progress has been unlocked by models. It also relies on 3 other big advancements: context, tools, and error correction. I'm going to take a second to talk about each of these. One way to think about DBT is as a giant context repository for all of your structured data. It knows where data comes from, where it goes, and how it gets transformed. It knows who uses it, how often, and how much it costs to produce. All this context has been perfectly structured by the million-plus DBT users out there. But, of course, all that context isn't useful if models can't get to it. And that's where the DBT MCP server comes in. With the MCP server, all of your models can access this context directly. And once you have context, agents are the next logical step. But in order for agents to act autonomously, agents need the ability to check their own work. Because the DBT Fusion engine is a true SQL compiler, it can tell the agent when it's made a mistake. It can provide a high-quality error message, and it can help the agent to heal the underlying pipeline. Agents working with Fusion are just more reliable. DBT is how AI understands, navigates, and uses your data. It is the single framework that supplies models with context, tool use, and error correction. With DBT, you can finally unleash the intelligence locked up in frontier models on the business problems that you think about every day. One more thing before I go. I don't know about you, but I'm only going to trust AI to reason about my data when the answers it gives are governed and explainable. Ultimately, metric calculations need to be deterministic, not probabilistic. They need to give the correct answer every single time. In order to do that, the industry needs a standard, freely usable by all and jointly governed. Today, we're announcing that we are officially open sourcing metric flow under an Apache 2.0 license, where it will be jointly governed by DBT Labs, Snowflake, and Tableau. We're also starting the process to donate metric flow to one of the leading software foundations, where it will ultimately be governed by the open source community. Openness has always been a North Star for me, and I am super happy about this. Thanks for hanging out with me today. As I wrap, I want to leave you with a final thought. The status quo that most of us grew up with is changing. This moment that we are in gives each of us the opportunity to massively expand our impact. My ask for all of you is simply this. Rewrite your expectations. Rewrite your expectations of what's possible. The way we work is changing. The way our teams are structured is changing. The impact we can have on our organizations is changing. 2 years ago, this was all just marketing fluff. But today, it's here. Now, I'm excited to bring up my friend and colleague, Elias DeFaria, co-founder of SDF and product leader for the DBT Fusion engine. Elias?
Hello, folks. Wow. It is so good to be here at Coalesce with you all this year. Man, this is an exciting moment for me. Because a year ago, I was sitting in the audience at this conference as a co-founder of a next-gen data transformation startup, SDF Labs. I was sitting in the back left. I remember it very well. I was inspired by everything I heard and saw here, inspired by Tristan. I was dreaming of building a technology that could bring this many people together. And now, I get to do that. That's pretty cool. SDF found its way to DBT, as many of you know. And my new team and I here have spent the last 10 months building, you guessed it, the DBT Fusion engine. Fusion delivers pretty amazing benefits to all DBT users, and my hope for today is that all of you come out of this with an understanding of those benefits and a genuine excitement to deploy them on your own infrastructure, in your own stack, with your own DBT projects, right? So let me walk you through why Fusion is such a game changer, all right? First, Fusion is a compiler. You've heard this a lot, probably. That means it deeply understands SQL syntax and semantics of every data platform, right? And by comparison, DBT Core runs your models against the warehouse. Fusion understands them, including all the nuanced SQL madness that every database supports, despite claiming they are ANSI compliant, right? Yeah, there you go. Got some laughs. Secondly, Fusion is built in Rust, right? That means Fusion operations, they're highly parallel and low latency, which, as many of you know, can be really difficult to achieve in pure Python. Let's all pour one out for the global interpreter lock. Another laugh. You're technical folks. Good. Okay. My nerd jokes, they're working. Thirdly, Fusion is stateful, right? When Fusion executes the commands you give it, not only is it understanding your current project state, it's remembering what it did before, right? And this sets the stage for it to optimize what it does next. But where would we all be if we could not remember yesterday, right? How would we optimize the future? That's a little bit about how it works. You're all probably curious how it actually improves your experience, right? Day-to-day working with DBT. So let's talk about that. First thing is the developer experience, right? Fusion supports a developer experience that is unlike anything DBT could deliver before. There's features like instant code validation, CTE previews, and column-level lineage available during development. They make building with DBT just more fun. And I will prove this to you with a demo in just a bit. That's the booth. Second thing is Fusion's stateful execution. It provides very serious cost-focused benefits. Models whose dependencies don't have new data are skipped. Tests are executed optimally. And column-aware CI/CD only runs precisely what needs to be updated. And finally, you heard from Tristan, AI. In order for AI to help us analyze data, it needs context, right? And specifically, the right context. Let's imagine I ask an AI, hey, let's build a model. Let's do this thing, you know? Perhaps it's hooked up to the local MCP server to fetch context. In order for the AI to do its job, it needs to know everything about the columns available to produce this model. It needs to know how changes it makes might break anything downstream through impact analysis. It needs to know the access rights, understand which data is sensitive, which is not. Fusion metadata contains everything AI systems need to facilitate trusted work on your data. But of these benefits, I have a close personal relationship with one, the developer experience. I started my career as an engineer. I even deployed DBT myself in 2021. And so this one's close to home for me. And the point I'm trying to make is Fusion rewrites our mental model of what constitutes a good developer experience. And yes, we had to rewrite the whole engine to accomplish that. But look, my favorite part of any demo, Keynote, you know where I'm going, is the demo. But not just any demo, a live demo. Yes, doing it live, right? That's what I like to do. And we're going to do it right there on this booth with this laptop running locally. Fusion and the VS Code extension, I'm going to show you what it's like to develop with our new tooling. OK, 16,000 of you. Let's hope this works. Cool. I've got a VS Code window open here. I got a DBT project, Mom's Flower Shop. OK, a little bit of SDF lore for you. Our default sample project was this one, was Mom's Flower Shop. It's like Joffle Shop for DBT, except it's based off of my mom's actual flower shop that she runs in LA. So we modeled the data of her small business and made it into a DBT project. It's kind of cool. And you can use this project with Fusion in the booth, in the discovery hall, if you want to try it out yourself after this. OK, first thing I'm going to do here is run a DBT build. Nope, not with a semicolon. Build, yes. OK, so the build, why am I running this? I'm running this because I want to prove to you all you can deploy this just like you can DBT Core. You don't have to pay us. You don't have to hear from me. You can deploy this in your own stack, run a build just like you would with Core. And look at those logs. Come on, those are some good logs. They were not there 3 months ago. That is a byproduct of some very direct feedback from you all, so thank you. We got summaries, too. That's kind of cool. Great. OK, so I did a build. But I want to show you a little bit of what it's like to develop with the VS Code extension and Fusion. So let's open a model here. I got one called rolling metrics. Great. So rolling metrics has some CTEs, calculating some metrics like daily orders, daily revenue, daily active users, and whoa, look, there's a to-do. A comment says, hey, Elias, calculate 7-day rolling orders. OK, so rolling orders. That means I want to look at, for a date, go back 7 days, sum up all the orders in that window, and attach that as a value in the row, right? I said it. I said window, right? So you know where we're going. We're going to use a window function. So I'll uncomment this CTE here. Great. And I am going to start by looking at what columns we have available by hovering on this star, just like that. Look at that. It shows me the columns right there in line, including their data types and the column names. I can hover over daily orders here to see the CTE code that I'm selecting from, right? So all these developer ergonomic features are powered by Fusion SQL comprehension. I'll move forward with my data transformation. So I'll select metric date. I will sum the orders, and I want to do them in that window. So over, let's do order by metric date. And then I'll say rows between 6 preceding and current row. Save it. OK, gnarly window function syntax. Holy smokes. And then I'm going to alias the result of this column to orders 7 days. And the last thing I'll do here, I want to eliminate any rows that don't have orders in the last week, right? So I'll do where orders 7 days is greater than 0. Save the file. Whoa, hey, look at that. I get some error feedback. Now, you all know in DBT Core, in order to detect this error, I would have to run this up against the warehouse, potentially incur a compute cost, right? Just to know that there's an issue here. But this is actually a complex issue, and Fusion is telling us something with it. It's saying that, hey, the query engine actually, it applies this filter before evaluating the window function, right? That's just the order of operations that it does things. And lucky for us, Teradata, to their credit, introduced the qualify keyword, right? Snowflake and others followed suit. So when I save the file now with qualify, Fusion says, you're good to go. This is going to run. And that's because qualify moves the evaluation of that filter to after the window function has been calculated. And Fusion knows all of this. This is what we call a semantic pass in the compiler to detect an error like that. So this is the first real developer experience improvement. Fusion gives you real-time error feedback as you're writing the code. But let's say I actually want to see the data that just this part of the query produces, this CTE. Right? For those of you not using Fusion, the VS Code extension today, you'd probably come down here and you maybe comment out the rest of this, right? And you'd select from daily 7-day orders, maybe? Yeah. But many of you probably spotted this little handy utility that Fusion now provides, preview CTE. So when I press this, Fusion will use SQL comprehension to construct a query that just spits out the output from this section. Come on. Yeah. That's pretty handy, huh? That's pretty cool. And it even considers in CTE lineage, right? So it runs daily orders first. It skips the other CTEs that were unused and just runs this one. That's what SQL comprehension can power. Moving down here to combine daily, right? I have a CTE here that's got some left joins. Okay, why don't I just go ahead and remove those? That feels safe, right? Oh, I also removed that, but Fusion told me. Nice. And now I added zeros there. Look, SQL comprehension, good. Okay, so I removed the left join there, right? No problems. It compiles now. It's pretty good, right? Okay, I'll try a build. How about I do a build, right? That should validate whether or not my changes are good. And the build is going to run the model. And the tests, look at that, it's working. So we're all good to deploy this to production, right? No problems? Why are you all laughing? No, no, no. Many of you SQL aficionados out there know the change I just made is potentially very dangerous, right? Could have far-reaching implications on the data. And a scenario like this is exactly why I'm very excited to show you our newest feature in the VS Code extension, compare changes. When I press this compare, yeah, I heard that reaction. When I press this compare button, Fusion's gonna run a data diff to look at exactly the precise impacts to the data that changes to this model will make. There it goes, woo, come on, it ran. And it has very, very significant impacts. Look at that, 2,184 rows have been removed by just removing that left keyword. That's 99.7% of our row count. Oh my God. Imagine, right? Yeah, and deploy, no. So this is exactly the right use case for compare changes, right? If I go to the primary keys tab, I can actually see these removed records. If I go to modified rows, I can see the column level impact, right? How the data changed per column. And the columns tab here shows us, hey, for each column name, what actually happened to it. So it's value change, or data type change, column position. This is a super powerful new feature. I'm so excited about this one. This totally increases our confidence after making development changes. And this feature is coming soon to DBT platform customers using the VS Code extension. So I'm very, very excited to roll this one out. Okay, moving on. Compile doesn't just look at one file at a time. This concept I want to kind of get in all your noggins, right? So if I go to staging website hits, on line 14, I'm selecting this column campaign type, right? And let's say I actually change this column to campaign source. The minute I save this file, look on the left-hand side here. Watch the files. I save it, and then Fusion immediately highlights files red downstream that have been broken by this change. Yeah. Real-time impact analysis, huh? Yeah. And so no more like deploying up to CI/CD, no more like running this model and all more downstream ones just to know I made a breaking change, right? But I actually do want to rename this column, right? And that's why we have a feature, column rename propagation. If I use rename symbol here, and I type this source, when I press enter, Fusion will rewrite all downstream models to reference the new column. Woo, come on. And it even works in complex scenarios. Like check this out, right? I'm using the column in a window function, it still gets that. That's good SQL comprehension. Yeah. Right? Okay, now the last thing I want to talk about with impact analysis, it doesn't just look at model level changes, it also looks at config changes and macro changes. Yeah. So, DBT project YAML, right? Line 6 here. I've got a profile, it's pointing to Snowflake profile, right? We talk a lot about cross-platform data development. Imagine I wanted this project to be compatible with both Snowflake and Databricks. With Fusion, this becomes quite easy. I can make a one-line change here. I can use a Databricks profile locally. And the minute I save the file, Fusion again highlights red the models that are not compatible in Databricks. Yeah. And line 7 here, it says no function generator. So this SQL, ignore that. Just press preview CTE. There's an error in the file. How can it run it? Right? This SQL here is produced by a macro, right? So I can use our utility here to see the precise SQL that this macro produces left to right. And you'll see on line 20, I'm using the function generator. And this is a bespoke function only available in Snowflake. And Fusion knows that and flags it immediately. Cross-platform compilation. That's cool. Okay. Well, that's all I got for you folks on the live demo side. I hope you're not surprised that that all worked like I am. Woo. Okay. That was pretty fun, huh? Yeah, that was fun. Okay. Let's recap a little of what we just saw. All these capabilities, they are in preview for projects running on Fusion with the DBT VS Code extension, with the exception of compare changes. That is coming soon. Cool. So we've made incredible progress in the last 10 months. I am so grateful for our engineers, our community, for getting us where we are today. But there's one more thing. Today, on this stage, I get to announce another exciting milestone in the Fusion journey. Fusion is officially in preview in the DBT platform for eligible projects. Woo! Yeah. That means the developer experience in DBT platform just got a whole lot snappier. And every platform is now Fusion native, meaning orchestrator, insights, catalog. They're all faster, smarter, and powered with richer metadata. But look, we know upgrading to the engine that powers your production workflows is it's a really big step. And that's why we've set the bar really high for today's preview release. We're starting with a select group of DBT platform projects to ensure an exceptional experience before expanding eligibility more broadly. Woo! Okay, folks. I think it's time to hear from somebody who's not on the DBT Labs payroll about Fusion. Back in May, I stopped by the offices of EQT Group in Stockholm. I talked to their whole team about upgrading to Fusion. And now, they are deploying it at enterprise scale. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Yanni Reichwald from EQT Group to Coalesce. All right. It's kind of a walkout here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's like, should I run? Should I walk? Should I slide? I don't know.
Yes. Exactly. It's so good to see you out here. I remember meeting your team in Stockholm back in May, and I was prompted to let you all install Fusion. You guys were so excited about it. And I was a little worried. This was like our first external install of Fusion. And then it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
On one
and then
project.
It didn't work. So
And
it was a little back and forth.
Yeah, it did fail on the other project. But I guess that prompts my first question for you. Why did you stick with us and continue the adoption journey after that first meeting?
I mean, in the beginning, there was still a lot of developer excitement. We saw all of these new features.
Yeah.
They looked amazing. But what actually drove us to continue was that we saw the huge potential for cost savings here. So that's why we persisted.
Okay. Huh. I'm curious, you mentioned developer experience, though. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what have your developers said since adopting Fusion? What do they think about the DevX? Is it everything I promised in this demo?
I think it is, actually. It's amazing, to be honest.
Nice. Okay. That's it?
Yeah.
They didn't want to say anything else? They weren't like, it's awesome, I love it. It's what I showed. Okay, we'll take that. Moving past development, though, I want to hear about what happened when you deployed it. What happened when you deployed it to production?
I mean, if you want to rewind a little bit and revisit the experience.
Tell me about the architecture.
I would say we have a distributed team, data mesh-like, with a lot of developers spread out in the organization.
Yeah.
And to make everyone do the same thing for complex operations like optimization and how to handle freshness and so on, we have a lot of documentation in Notion. And the problem with having lots of documentation in Notion and lots of developers, no one reads the documentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing we see with Fusion is that we can take some of this complexity and move it over, the burden of handling that, to the Fusion engine. And that's quite...
Okay, so it's really simplified your ability to optimize your deployments, is that right?
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
And what kind of optimization results have you seen?
Firstly, we could optimize how we set up the projects.
Yeah.
But the biggest impact, the runtimes. When we started looking at the runtimes, are you ready?
I'm ready.
We saw a drop in for 60%.
60%?
60%.
Your pipelines ran 60% faster.
They did.
Come on. That's crazy. And did that actually translate into
exactly.
cost savings? Did that actually...
So as a corollary, obviously, if the runtime goes down, the cost should go down.
Naturally.
So we did look into that as well. And we saw cost savings of approximately 45% for this particular DBT project.
5%. Wow. So that project now costs 45% less to run on your warehouse. Is that right?
Indeed, yes.
So you got major developer experience improvements. You got simplified deployments and real cost savings.
Yeah, with very low effort from our side, I must say.
Very low effort, too. Oh, my gosh. That must unlock a lot of potential for your org, yeah?
Yeah, so now we can have twice as much fun to spend, right?
Nice. Very cool.
But Elias, I actually have a couple of questions for you as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
We were an early adopter, so we did encounter quite a few bugs.
Yeah.
And we are live now, but I imagine there's still quite a long tail.
Yeah.
How do you intend to handle that?
Let me ask you something. When you reported an issue, how long did it take for us to fix it?
It felt like 24 hours.
That's pretty good.
Extremely good.
Yeah. And that's kind of an internal goal for us, right? Is to move as fast as possible when any of you all report issues, right? And I think this 24-hour anecdote is a testament to the velocity with which we're moving to fix those remaining issues. And I can tell you, in front of all of you, our team is exclusively focused on this in the upcoming quarter, right? But don't take my word for it. Go to the source available DBT Fusion repo. You can see the commits landing every day. We are cooking. We're moving very fast.
One last question from me.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of core users still out here. What does Fusion bring to them?
That's a very good question. Look, similar to DBT Core, I said this earlier, Fusion is source available. It's free to use at any scale. You don't need to talk to us. You don't need to hear from me unless you want to. You can install Fusion today. You can get an improved developer experience and faster engine. All right, Yanni. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Good to have you. That's pretty cool. We are so grateful to his team for the feedback they gave us during the beta period. Fusion would just not be where it is today without teams like Yanni's. So folks, Fusion is the future of DBT and the way you want to run your projects wherever you build them. Whether that's directly from the command line, from the DBT VS Code extension, from the DBT platform, now powering every experience from Canvas to Studio to our orchestrator to everything else. And hopefully now you agree with me that Fusion has rewritten your expectations of a good developer experience. Thank you very much, folks. Please join me in welcoming my colleague Jeri to talk about how Fusion lays a new foundation for the DBT platform. Woohoo!
Good morning, everyone. I am Jeri Kumala-Kenny. I'm a resident architect here at DBT Labs, and I can't wait to share with you some of the cool stuff we've been building here at DBT. I am someone who has always been fascinated by how things grow and connect, whether it's cities, systems, or my own attempts at organizing the hundreds of books that I own. That curiosity is what brought me to data, because there's nothing more satisfying than making sense out of something messy and complicated. Before joining DBT, I spent many years helping organizations solve their data problems. And a pattern that I kept seeing, which will be no surprise to you all in this room, is that as these organizations grew, their data needs became more demanding and their questions more complicated. Our data systems are like growing cities. Like Vegas, they start off pretty simple, and as they continue to grow, they get harder to navigate. Those early choices that you made without thinking about how you're going to scale have a lasting impact. You suddenly find yourself dealing with spiraling costs, teams working in silos in their own data neighborhoods, and orchestration complexity. At DBT Labs, we know that complexity doesn't have to mean chaos. Fusion is designed to work with your existing infrastructure, allowing you to rewrite the rules and create data systems that are intelligent, flexible, and cost-effective. In the past year, the DBT ecosystem has built over 33 billion models. To put that in context, if it took just 1 second to run each of those models, and you chose to run them sequentially, it would take over 1,000 years. That's more than 4 models for every person on Earth. These are not just huge numbers. These numbers represent the massive complexity that we have collectively built into our data systems. Like urban sprawl, it brings about real costs. Financial ones, in terms of your compute dollars, and cognitive ones, in terms of the strain on your teams. With Fusion, we are tackling this challenge head on. Elias just shared how local compilation, native SQL comprehension, and the speed of Rust creates a better developer experience. Now, I'm going to talk about how Fusion evaluates the state of your project to enable intelligent orchestration that saves you money. I am super excited to announce state-aware orchestration, which is now available in preview for projects running on Fusion. Yes, it's exciting. State-aware orchestration is a Fusion-powered innovation that fundamentally rewrites how our data pipelines work by only running what needs to be run. And the result? Less waste, faster delivery, and a data city that runs as efficiently as it grows. In a traditional DBT run, every model in our DAG is rebuilt regardless of whether its inputs have changed. With state-aware orchestration enabled, DBT is now able to pinpoint exactly which models need refreshing based on when new data is produced upstream. And the models without any upstream changes are automatically reused. This approach cuts out unnecessary processing, reduces compute costs, and delivers faster run times by only running what needs to be run. We all know adopting new orchestration often means rewriting projects or restructuring jobs. But here's the good news. With Fusion, enabling state-aware orchestration is as simple as flipping a switch. No rewrites, no restructuring. In our beta cohorts, state-aware orchestration resulted in about a 10% reduction in compute costs. I mean, that's pretty good, simply by turning it on. We know that across the DBT platforms, teams are running at massive scale. There are over 850,000 job definitions, with most of them running at an hourly cadence. That's a lot of jobs, running regardless of whether anything has actually changed. Let me ask you this. How many of you in this room have run hourly jobs just to make sure you do not miss any new incoming data? I'm looking. Yeah. I mean, no judgment here. We've all been there. I've been there. I mean, business data has different cadences, and we are not always sure when data arrives or how quickly we should surface it back to our stakeholders. And because of this, many of us resort to the path of least resistance, and we overschedule our jobs because our focus is on avoiding the risk of capturing late arriving data or partially updated upstream sources. Managing jobs, though, is work. It's really easy to end up in a scheduling loop. And then the effect? Empty builds, too many jobs to manage, and noisy alerts, all leading to cost overruns. So instead of wrestling with schedules, we have made it pretty easy to fine-tune your configurations. You can declare your freshness requirements, and then Fusion and state-aware orchestration will take it from there. We can detect exactly which upstream tables have new or changed data, and we can enforce the freshness targets you have set for your project. Here you see two examples. You can set your max stillness window for when a model needs to be rebuilt, like in stage customers, where we've added the build after 6-hour configuration. And you can define whether to wait for all sources to be fresh before rebuilding a model, like in customer orders, where we have added the updates on all configuration. In our beta cohorts, tuned configurations reduced annual costs by at least an additional 15%. I mean, 15%. This is in addition, woo, I know, clap, you can clap for this. It is huge. This is in addition to what state-aware orchestration automatically delivers just by being turned on. In just a few minutes, I'm going to invite my colleague Ken to share some of the results from our own internal DBT project. But before that, let's talk about testing. Testing is something I care deeply about. I love helping customers find that sweet spot of doing just enough testing to unlock the best possible data quality for their use cases. Too often, in traditional testing, we are revalidating the same data over and over again across our data pipelines. Not anymore. Today, I'm excited to announce that powered by Fusion's rich column-level metadata, smarter and more efficient testing is now available in preview in the DBT platform. Woo! Fusion powers aggregated testing, which allows us to combine multiple test runs into fewer, more efficient operations. That means no more duplicated table scans. I mean, big deal, too. And column-aware testing, so that data is only tested when it has changed or is being used. Let's talk about column-aware testing. Fusion introduces powerful column-level awareness that transforms how testing takes place in DBT. Instead of tracking changes at the model level, Fusion's metadata engine tracks exactly which columns have changed in your data pipeline. With this kind of granular insight, we now know when a test is identical to one that's already been used upstream, and we can reuse it. The result? Faster testing, lower costs, while still maintaining the same quality standards you've already defined in your project. These efficiencies can translate into an additional 4% reduction in your annual data platform cost. It's all about testing smarter, not harder. And coming soon, the same approach will apply to CI, rebuilding only the models that use the changed columns instead of every downstream model. That's even lower costs and faster pipelines. You all know how CI is. As you can see, Fusion rewrites the rules for how you optimize your data platform cost despite your growing data demands. It allows you to systematically and automatically cut waste and inefficiencies from your pipelines without ever compromising on data quality or freshness. With state-aware orchestration, tuned configurations, and column-aware testing, you can expect at least a 29% reduction in annual compute costs. And that's without rewriting a single thing in your project. You flip a switch, you define your data freshness requirements, and suddenly, your DAG is running more smoothly. Your stakeholders have the high-quality data they need exactly when they need it, and you're reinvesting that budget and time into innovation. Now, I'm going to invite on stage my colleague Ken Ostner, VP of Data at DBT Labs, who's going to show you what this looks like in practice and how we have implemented some of these innovations here at DBT.
Everyone, Ken. I lead an internal data team here at DBT Labs. So I've been a user of Core for over 6 years, leading teams to centralize audit. When I joined DBT Labs a few months ago, I thought I was coming in as a veteran. But as it turns out, my first day on the job was the Monday after our Fusion, the beta launch of Fusion. So very quickly, I was no longer the veteran.
You were thrown right into the Fusion train. And I heard that you had your doubts about those 30% cost savings by running Fusion. Tell me more.
Yeah, I was definitely a skeptic. I mean, that's an ambitious number, and I felt like it was overly optimistic. But I've also been really surprised by the results.
All right, so before we get started, I'm sure everyone wants to hear a little bit more about what our DBT internal project looks like.
Sure. So this is project number 1. It's over 9 years old. We have around 1,500 models, 2,300 tests, and over 100 contributors. Additionally, we have about 10 different jobs running throughout the day with examples like half hour, hourly, 4 hour, et cetera.
All right, pretty standard. Some overscheduling, like many of us, but it works.
Yep. So here's a visual showing results from just flipping the switch on Fusion, which went live in our environment on July 10th. The purple bar shows models built, and the green bar shows models reused. We immediately saw around a third of our models were reused daily. And this amounted to about a 9% cost savings on our compute bill. And that caught my attention. As a longtime DBT user myself, this is a new concept. We're using existing models based on data updates. And the implications turn out to be quite impactful.
I mean, that's a pretty easy 9% savings just by automatically turning things on. Tell me a little bit more about what the team did from there.
Sure. So after experimenting with Fusion, we better understood state-aware orchestration. We asked ourselves, how would we rewrite our setup? For us, that includes being very focused on data freshness SLAs and then getting strict about how many jobs we actually needed. what we ended up with was a much simpler configuration with some shockingly impressive results. So our goal was to hit an additional 15%.
Did you save that 15%?
No. But what we really got surprised us. We hit an additional 55% cost savings on our DBT workloads.
That's amazing. Even better.
Yeah, it really is. And I thought something had to be wrong. With such a big impact, we scrutinized the findings, our methodology, ran the test for longer. But to my surprise, the numbers held, Fusion delivered.
It sure did. Now, but let's hear a little bit more. How exactly did you do it?
Yep. So it was actually rather simple. We now have two freshness configurations. We have a daily and an hourly. Our global default is daily, and our operational override is hourly. And for our jobs, we only maintain two jobs. One hourly job, refreshing both daily and hourly data, with an additional weekend job for cleanup and backfills.
All right, you said it was simple, but did you find it a little difficult to implement?
Yes and no. So being we're customer #1 on Fusion, there were definitely some bumps along the way to get the project compatible. But once we were running Fusion, tuning state of orchestration was actually pretty straightforward. There's a few lines of YAML at the project definition level, and then a few more lines of YAML for model-specific overrides. The other change is just configuring the jobs.
I mean, that sounds pretty simple. That's it.
Yeah, it really is, and especially for how much savings we got from this.
What were the total cost savings from this setup?
Yeah, so turning on Fusion automatically saved us 9%. Adding our tuned configurations, we gained an additional 55% savings. In total, we're now at 64% cost savings.
Woo! I mean, 64%, y'all. I mean, that's huge. Really impressive.
Yeah, it was really impressive. And what's equally exciting about this is that it's not compromising on quality, and actually quite the opposite. We have a lot more control over the visibility of our infrastructure, and that gives us much more confidence in our data operation.
This is way better than expected. It's awesome. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
Give it up for Ken, please. This is why I'm really excited that Fusion is moving into preview today in the DBT platform. As you can see, we haven't rewritten how we run our data cities. We've optimized them. What was once chaotic is now running smoothly. And this transformation is possible because of Fusion's intelligent capabilities that are designed to work with your existing infrastructure. We just showed you the benefits of Fusion in one project and one data platform. Like you saw in Elias's demo earlier, right? Fusion lays the foundation for us to scale this power across many projects and many platforms. Historically, moving between platforms meant rewriting code and risking lock-in. With Fusion and DBT's integrations with open table formats like Iceberg, you now have a consistent abstraction layer across platforms. What does this really mean? It means that by standardizing on DBT, you are protecting the investments you've already made in your models and pipelines across platforms. Your models are portable, and your governance is consistent. You're future-proofing your data strategy. And with that, it is my pleasure to hand things over to Faith McKenna, the one and only, who's going to share even more amazing innovations from DBT.
My name is Faith McKenna, and as a lead technical instructor, I love getting to help people level up their workflows with DBT every day. It's genuinely inspiring. So let's talk about all of the exciting ways DBT is innovating to help you get data work done. All right, remember the analytics development lifecycle, the ADLC? Yeah, you know her. It's a framework to help you build, manage, and consume data in a structured, repeatable way. Today, for simplicity's sake, let's stick with build, manage, and consume. It's a simpler way to understand what good data work looks like. Now, historically, getting work done across all of these phases looked like buying a million SaaS tools, negotiating team silos, and reconciling process differences. Fun. At DBT, we've been making huge progress in bringing this lifecycle together under one governed roof. We invited in more builders with the launch of DBT Canvas. Yes, Woo. That way, folks who prefer visual data work can make small, safe contributions in a drag-and-drop interface with governed guardrails. We invited in more consumers with DBT Insights, a query console that speeds up exploratory analysis for anyone. And today, I get to announce that DBT Insights is officially generally available. Yeah! Hell yeah! We also made data management even easier with the expansion of DBT Catalog, which now lets you not only discover your DBT assets, but also your broader warehouse assets. And of course, we accelerated all of these stages with DBT Copilot. It's our context-aware AI that helps you build models in Canvas, find assets to manage in Catalog, and consume data by drafting SQL for you in DBT Insights. So as a technical instructor, I'm in the wild, getting customer feedback and reactions daily. I love to hear when they love what we're doing. Tony from Fifth Third Bank told us that DBT Canvas makes model updates easier and faster. And Ron from USAA told us that DBT Canvas paints a clear picture of complex SQL. The evidence is there. DBT is bringing tools and teams together so that the ADLC can accelerate from a safe, governed foundation. And by the way, if you're out of the loop on DBT Canvas, CSV uploads just landed. And they're as simple as dragging your CSV file from your desktop and dropping it directly into Canvas. Then you can continue exploring and transforming. Everything resolves to SQL inside your governed DBT environment. This means analysts and engineers alike get to ship safely. Now, this progress has been amazing for our industry and so much fun to watch. But we're on the cusp of something bigger. We're moving from manual queries to AI-powered analytics that cuts your time to insight from weeks to minutes. And we're doing that in two complementary ways. First, we're infusing AI into your DBT workflows to make you more productive across the ADLC. And second, we're extending that structured context that you've already built in DBT so that the rest of your AI ecosystem operates from that same governed source of truth. This AI assistance in your day-to-day makes the context even richer, which makes your AI tools even smarter. AI for DBT, DBT for AI. This positive feedback loop rewrites how you build, manage, and consume data. All right, so here's some specifics. Last year, we launched DBT Copilot. It helps you reduce repetitive work by spinning up tests, docs, and SQL. Your pipelines move faster, and your engineers get to firefight less. Then, we gave AI a strong foundation with structured context by launching the local DBT MCP server earlier this year. Hooking up your favorite AI tool to our MCP server means that these tools get information on your project's relationships, the models you have, the metrics you have, and they can even run DBT commands. Today, that foundation levels up. Because today, the local DBT MCP server now supports OAuth. Yeah, I heard one security nerd in the back going, oh my God. That means you can use your DBT login for secure access to your projects and environments. This sets you up for success for deeper, more official integrations across the AI ecosystem. So, before today, using our local MCP server meant setting everything up yourself, my favorite. But you don't have to anymore because the remote DBT MCP server is now generally available. Now, your AI tools can just connect to your DBT project in the cloud instead. Your governed models, metrics, and lineage are now accessible to model providers like OpenAI and Anthropic, and IDEs like Cursor for safer, more reliable AI systems. We're also connecting Fusion to the DBT MCP server. This means that your AI agents can write better SQL, understand your data more deeply, and operate at a lower cost as you scale AI adoption. With DBT's MCP server giving AI the context that it needs to actually be useful, we finally have a universal structured layer between AI and trustworthy data. But that layer isn't the finish line, it's a launch pad. That's because AI is moving from an assistant to a doer. That's right, AI agents can actually take instruction and execute tasks end to end. So we are so excited to introduce DBT agents. These, it's crazy. These out-of-the-box agents keep governance in the loop. They can accomplish specific tasks across that build, manage, consume workflow, and you can check their work. So let's start with that build phase. Coming soon to DBT is a developer agent. If you've built in Cursor or VS Code, you've already felt that shift from assist to agentic action. Now, we're making it governed and auditable. This agent will let you describe your changes, like migrating this flower shop stored proc to a DBT model, it's going on behind me, and then it'll just go do it for you. In addition to writing SQL files, it can write tests and docs, validate them with Fusion, and run them against your warehouse. We'll have support for this in both VS Code and Studio so that you can stay in the flow. Now, in a happy world, you define your transformations once in DBT, and then they refresh on a schedule. So easy, right? Now, this isn't the reality. Errors get introduced. And picking them out yourself is such a drag. Coming soon to DBT is an observability agent that will pinpoint issues in your faulty pipelines to help you fix them faster. Imagine what your team would do with the time you'd no longer have to spend on fixing pipelines and combing through those dang logs. The next wave of AI projects? Finally making everyone write lowercase SQL? Thank you so much. Either way, fewer tickets and more reliable pipelines are on the way. Finally, we're introducing agents that rewrite how you consume data. Democratizing governed data has been a challenge for decades. People want to find trusted answers fast, on their own, and in the tools that they already use. Your stakeholders should be able to discover and analyze data like seasonal flower shop sales without constantly having to ping your poor engineers. To help you find the right data assets, we're announcing a discovery agent now available in beta. It will identify approved data sets and definitions from your catalogs and docs and show you why the data is trustworthy. That way, you're getting more than a standard search that just dumps matches. This cuts your time to discovery and any rework. Now, sometimes you really do just have a quick question, like what is my most popular flower arrangement by revenue? But the reality is that metrics are hard to test, hard to trace, and too often get trapped in tools. This slows teams and stalls AI. As Tristan shared, we're open sourcing metric flow to solve this problem. Now, we want to make it even easier for anyone at your company to directly ask those quick questions of your data. We're introducing an analyst agent in beta so that you don't have to build your own conversational analytics. You can ask it complex questions and get governed answers. It'll use the DBT semantic layer as well as your DBT project context so that you can scale AI adoption with confidence. Now, the AI agents that I just talked about here are out-of-the-box tooling coming soon. But if you are an accomplished AI chef who wants to whip up this functionality today, you can. Take our MCP server and get cooking. But if you prefer turnkey service, stick with us, because all of these agents are coming soon. Either way, DBT's trustworthy context is at the core so that you can ship with confidence. In this brave new world, our stakeholders are going to rely on dashboards less and less. Instead, they'll rely on their agent and trust what it tells them, because the rules, lineage, and metrics live in DBT. AI embedded across the ADLC means that more people across the business can build, manage, and consume governed data with confidence. To show how this is done in practice, I'd like to welcome Øyvind Areker, a senior data engineer at NBIM. That's Norway's sovereign wealth fund. He's going to talk to us about how they delivered governed conversational analytics and agentic workflows to their business stakeholders with DBT. Please help me welcome Øyvind. Amazing. Øyvind, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell me a little bit about NBIM and the data challenges that you faced.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Faith. First, the backstory. At NBIM, we're managing $2 trillion across thousands of holdings with just under 700 employees. We've always worked in a mesh model, keeping teams autonomous and fast-paced, meaning in practice that close to 25% of our workforce are active DBT developers. They have become citizen data engineers out of necessity, including portfolio managers and traders and so on. So after moving to DBT and Snowflake, we experienced a rapid growth of data objects, tens of thousands, with, let's be honest, varying quality, high redundancy, and a difficult data landscape to navigate. Our users needed to find out what data we have and where we have them. So we used Claude Desktop, which gave us a great natural language interface, and we became very early adopters of the MCP framework. With our Snowflake MCP, Claude could talk to Snowflake and browse data at will and fetch actual data samples. And with the DBT MCP, it could fetch DBT content, like model definitions, lineage, test results, run results, so on, to give governed answers back to the user.
Wow, that is really freaking cool, but it only works if people use it, right? So how did you drive adoption, and what were some outcomes?
Yeah, we wanted this to be available to the whole organization, so we onboarded everyone, both technical and non-technical. We presented in firm-wide town halls, we arranged hackathons and classroom sessions for multiple hundreds. And since everything was built within Snowflake and DBT and Claude Desktop, all tools people are already using, there was nothing new to learn, just a new, smarter way to use our stack. And due to this, we saw tenfold adoption compared to, for example, our previous data catalog tool. We see fewer tickets to our data producers, and we see way faster time to insight for our data consumers. They can now self-serve, discover, explore at their own will without waiting. And because answers come back with things like test results, lineage, and actual data samples, trust and confidence in the data actually increased as well. There was less back and forth with, like, where does this data come from?
Yeah, that's the dream. So talk to us about what's on the horizon for NBIM. What's next?
Yeah, we're working on two tracks. First, a deeper confidence in analysis, tightening how semantic layers and metric definitions can work together to provide more reliable and trustworthy AI analytics, not just for discovery and exploration, but for actual decision-making. Second, agentic coding and agentic workflows. We already have 24/7 AI agents, monitoring systems, acting on incidents, warnings, errors, publishing reports and findings, and even making pull requests for small fixes.
Wow. So what have you learned about going from zero to AI?
Yeah, first of all, I think like AI on a data platform will never be at its best without excellent metadata and data quality. And this puts DBT in the very core of it, right? It's not only that DBT works well with AI, it provides essential capabilities for AI to be at its best on a data platform. Second, having AI tooling, like chat interfaces or IDEs, is a pure necessity for getting started. And MCPs represent the major shift and enhancement of those capabilities. They will shift the LLMs to not being just great tools that work with you, but also performing work for you. Wow. And finally, and probably the most important, the organizational aspects. At least at NBIM, we're not trying to just provide great tools. We're trying to fundamentally transform how we work. And to be able to do that and reach AI's full potential, you will need full C-level backing and the whole organization moving in the same direction. So the key takeaway, at least for me, is that if you combine great data engineering practices with intelligent tooling and AI tooling and true organizational commitment, you will be able to unlock capabilities that we couldn't even dream of just half a year ago.
Wow, crazy stuff. I'm hearing keep your rules and context in DBT and let cutting-edge AI tools reach it through MCP. It gets you scalable, trustworthy AI. We love to hear it. Oyvind, thank you so much for joining us today. Gang, I'm a teacher, so let's talk about what we learned today. What are we learning about how DBT is helping teams rewrite what's possible with AI? First, DBT is helping more stakeholders collaborate across a governed build, manage, and consume workflow. And the GA of Insights rounds that out. Second, DBT is the context engine for AI, and our integrations with MCP, including today's GA launch of the remote MCP server, make that turnkey for any AI system. And finally, AI agents are coming to DBT to make your workflows more delightful, automated, and high quality. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now I'd like to welcome back to the stage DBT legends Jeremy Cohen and Grace Goheen.
That keynote is going to go down in the DBT record books.
So many exciting announcements, demos, and testimonials that will rewrite how we do data work.
We are rewriting the developer experience for data practitioners. How awesome was that live demo from Elias? Yeah? Fusion is here. It just keeps getting better.
Jeremy and I work with the teams building Fusion and DBT Core, and it's been a blast to work on the engine that makes this all possible.
So today's preview launch of Fusion in the DBT platform brings us one step closer to that new reality. We can't wait to see what you all are going to build.
And as you heard from Yeri and Ken talk about, Fusion opens the door for a lot of cool use cases and optimizations in the DBT platform, including helping your DAG run smarter and to prepare for a cross-platform future with Iceberg.
Did you hear what Ken said about 64% cost savings?
The cost optimization features in DBT, namely state-aware orchestration, are a promising first step on the path towards this future.
And how incredible was Faith?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love seeing her passion for enabling more people to work in the DBT way with Canvas, insights, and new AI innovations.
Integrations, agentic workflows, data quality in the age of AI. It's exciting to see it all coming together.
All right, let's give it up for all of our keynote speakers.
And especially our customers, Yanni and Oyvind, for joining us on stage today. All right. Okay, some logistics before we wrap up. If you haven't already, be sure to download the Coalesce app to get all the latest information, the agenda, session locations, and receive customized notifications about what's happening every single day.
Second, come see us or other DBT Labs employees in the Expert Lounge in the DBT booth. It's where you can learn more about the new releases we just talked about this morning, learn more about upgrading to Fusion, and get help with your DBT project or talk to an expert about best practices.
Third, you can join the conversation online. If you're not already a part of the DBT community Slack, you're missing out, but joining is really simple. Just visit getdbt.com/community to get started.
And we also want to point out that there is a nursing room, quiet room, and a prayer room located in the Lotus meeting rooms.
All right, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. The Discovery Hall is open. And our breakout sessions kick off at the top of the hour.
Be sure to stop by our sponsor stations in the Discovery Hall. Not that time. In fun and engaging activities, and we're going to meet back here later this afternoon at 4 p.m. for our esteemed guest speaker, Ashley Kramer.
Until then, enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll see you real soon.